Well, it's been a year. 1 year since the outbreak of this you know what. And we have been right just about almost everything. And some of the things we speculated openly about, some of those things we were actually wrong about. But we cast doubt about the transmission rate of carriers, asymptomatic individuals, because respiratory viruses generally spread through the shedding of those little spores. And that doesn't happen until the infection starts. So, there's something called a prodromal phase. It's 24 hours before the onset of symptoms. Your virus starts to shed, you become a little more infectious. But right here, hit pause. I'm sorry if it's too small, enlarge if you must. But you can see where they kind of looked at several cases in two key cities, Hong Kong and Bangkok. They looked at the family contacts, and I don't know how you could, by interviewing somebody, you could tell if their exposure in the home was not through hand contact, but through aerosol and not droplets. And to me, I confuse droplets with aerosolized all the time. They're almost the same thing. But so, but the hand contact's right up there with droplet nuclei. And so you're looking at, they say 24, 25% of the cases, and we know the number has to be higher on hand contact. It just almost certainly has to, mainly because of just the rampant infections that are going throughout hospitals that are all hand contact, like C. difficile and MRSA, methicillin resistant staph. All those are spread how? Through hand contact. By who? People who should know how not to spread those organisms. But everything is perplexing, like, well, since your kids don't get COVID, they should go to school and then bring it home to you. The very perplexing things going on with respect to the way this whole affair has been managed. But with no scientific references to rely upon, they feel that sending your children to school is not going to aggravate the epidemic, even though we know that daycares and we know that nursery schools and preschools are all breeding grounds for every known microorganism in the universe. So, but yet, except for the most contagious one we've seen in modern history. But children are vectors. Children are a way of bringing things home. They're not as contagious, but they have their hands everywhere. They crawl on you before you get out of bed, and they're putting their hands in your face and your mouth. Their hands are all over everything. So yeah, if you really wanted to control your pandemic, you would not be sending kids, especially like nursery school. You would be not sending them to daycare and saying, "Well, that's okay, but social distancing is mandatory." And when we talk about transmission, hand contact, often they just kind of gloss over it. Wash your hands all the time. Wash your hands frequently. No, you wash your hands every time you touch a doorknob. You wash your hands every time you touch something that's touched by somebody else. And that's plain and simple every time. But infection caused by hands is one way to spread this disease. Infections caused by droplet nuclei and aerosolized droplets, that's another way to spread this disease. Blood and body fluid, that's another way to spread this disease, and even through food contaminated in water. So that's 5 routes of transmission, body fluids being one, blood being another. Now, almost 95% of all known viruses that infect human beings do not feature 5 routes of transmission. But this one does. And if you think there is something special about this virus, well, there is. We were warned about it before it even got here. And we knew that somebody was going to come save the day before they had to come save the day. Amazing. And the big thing about all of the Bill Gates funding for nano transmitters fit inside hypodermic needles, the thing about that situation is that if you were going to try to sell something and make a lot of money in the medical field, selling medicine that you don't need when you're sick, selling medicine that you take before you ever get sick, meaning you don't have to wait for people to get sick in order to sell your medical product, that's a humdinger. And Bill Gates specialized in cornering markets on things that he thought every single person would have access to or be using. One day, every household will have a computer. And that was his bet. Now, he's going to bet that every household needs to be vaccinated.